I work with authors whose end goal is not the book. The book is a vehicle, a catalyst to do something in the world. And completing and publishing a good book can be such a powerful differentiator for you as whatever you are, a coach, a consultant, a creator of some kind, a service provider, whatever you're out there doing in the world.
Welcome to the Sunlight Tax Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, design nerd, tax pro, author of Taxes for Humans, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative, wellness, or mission-driven entrepreneur who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Stacy, welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. Stacy Ennis is a best-selling book author, book coach, speaker on a mission to help leaders clarify their ideas and harness their unique story to make an impact. Her background includes impacting more than 100 books in her 17 plus years in publishing, ghostwriting for a Nobel Prize winner in medicine, and leading as executive editor of Sam's Club Healthy Living Made Simple, a publication that reached around 11 million readers. Stacy's work and writing have been featured in Yahoo Inc., Insider, Publishers Weekly, Katie Couric, and the TEDx stage. Stacy is the host of the podcast Beyond Better and holds a master's in writing and editing from the University of Cincinnati. Stacy, welcome to the Sunlight Tax Podcast.
Thanks, Hannah. I've been really looking forward to talking with you.
Yay, me too. What a delight. Will you just give us a little bit of the journey, like how we've heard your bio and where you are now. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Well, like most people in publishing, I have a love story with books and writing that started when I was 7 with reading the Chronicles of Narnia. That was my fall in love with books series. Of course, the Babysitter's Club, all kinds of different books that at the time I didn't really realize this, but growing up in Boise, Idaho, which people call White-Idaho, it's 87% white, very affluent. It was a very homogenous space to grow up, and my books gave me a sense of the world. It helped me develop a mindset beyond where I was, empathy through other people's stories. So it was kind of my first world exploration was through reading books. And, fast forward a long time, I went and got my bachelor's in writing. And then shortly after that, my husband and I moved to the Dominican Republic. We weren't married at the time, but we moved to the Dominican Republic and then Vietnam, came back and went to grad school for writing and editing. And along the way, I started working in publishing. As you mentioned, I ghostwrote for a Nobel Prize winner for 4 years. I also used to run Sam's Club's magazine, Healthy Living Made Simple. We had about 11 million readers. I was executive editor of that publication, which of course was a huge and important role and taught me so much about the publishing industry. And so I've spent most of my career I spent all of my career, I should say, in the written word in some capacity and as an editor, as a ghostwriter, and today as a book coach. So I work with authors or future authors who want to write a nonfiction book. That's the space that I operate in. And I would say, particularly work with authors that have a vision beyond the book. So the book is not their end all be all goal. They have a reason they're putting this book out into the world, whether it's a business goal or a social mission or something that's bigger than the book. And I get to work with really amazing people. It's the coolest work.
I love it. I agree with you. It is. And I've noticed because I am in your membership program, the Authors Influence Circle, and the other people in there are really cool. Like everybody is trying to make the world a better place from their specific vantage point, and that makes me thrive. I love it.
Yeah, and they're actually doing things to do that. They're out there doing their good work, whatever shape that takes in the world. And I think that is a real hallmark of the kind of clients that I love to work with. They're action takers. They're big dreamers, but they're not just talking about what they'd like to do. They're actually taking action toward their dreams and their bigger vision.
I love it. So, Stacy, I did mention this in our session together, the ROI of writing a book. But I do want to just say for those people who are listening to the podcast and weren't in that session, by the way, if you want to get the recording for that ROI of writing a book, if you just join my Substack, it's free for subscribers. So you can either send me a note through Substack that you're a subscriber and you'd like that recording, or you can send an email to hello@sunlighttech. So everybody who missed the ROI of writing a book session with Stacy, you are so welcome to have it. Okay, so what I wanted to say is just like I had this experience with you, Stacy, that I want to say to everybody because it really made me trust in your expertise, like trust in your deep wisdom. Not only are you an incredible writer, I mean, you cannot. How many books have you written? 17?
Yeah, 18. Yeah, I'm working on the 19th right now. Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah, you can't do that without being a not just a good writer, but somebody who's really mastered the process, right? But I had this experience because I had a book deal. I suddenly had a book deadline, super exciting. And I went out and I hired a book coach just on somebody's recommendation. She was kind of new and a little green, I think. And I had an awful experience. I'm not going to name her, but I had an awful experience, very trust-breaking, very yucky. And I called you, Stacy, because, you had a lot of experience and I had like an SOS call with you. And I just want to say for everybody listening, like Stacy's generosity was unbelievable. She was just there to kind of hold my hand through one of, frankly, many book crises. And it was so evident to me that not just is she a fantastic writer, but that she really knows the publishing world and the book writing journey and process, and also the strategy around like placing your book in the world. And I just can't tell you how held I felt by just that SOS call with her, which is why I then joined her membership. And so I just want to put that out there. Because I really think your work is incredible, Stacy.
Thanks, Hannah. I don't even know what to say, but thank you. That was so kind.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I mean, I know you have to build your own trust with people, but I really do feel like, wow, I like saw you when it was hard for me through a crisis, and it mattered. It made a difference.
Maybe, one thing I'll layer into that experience. Yeah, I'm sorry that you had the experience with the first coach. And I think that this is a problem in our industry, that we have a lot of people out there that are not qualified really to be guiding people on these journeys or make kind of big promises or just give bad advice. And that's not the standard. Like most places, most people have really good intentions and care a lot. But it is tough when you have those experiences. And I think that that's why conversations like this and the episode that you did also on your journey, Hannah, which you published a little bit earlier, these types of things that we're doing are so important for people that are considering this journey so they can avoid some of what you went through. But then I also just want to lift up your resilience and ultimately with your work, you came back to your service through your work. And I think that's what really held you through that period, because this is why I mentioned at the top, I work with authors whose end goal is not the book. The book is a vehicle, a catalyst to do something in the world. And I think part of why you were able to, dust yourself off and find your way forward is because you had a mission that was bigger than that road bump. You were going to traverse that road bump because you cared deeply about the reader on the other side of that. And you cared so much about making it useful and excellent. And that is really what makes a great book at the end of it. Of course, there's people that support you and guidance you can get, but I think that the mindset that you had is ultimately why your book ended up becoming great at the when all is said and done.
I appreciate that so much. I felt like going in, you tell me how good this strategy is, but my strategy going in was I'm not Michelle Obama. I do not have a massive platform. It's going to be uphill the whole time. to kind of get the word out about this book. P.S. It's still available and it's still great. Everybody. But I just figured, like, really my best friend in this process, the only way this book was really going to do as well as I think it deserves to do is if it was so good that people would want to tell their friends. And so I really felt focused on this has to be the best book to teach a self-employed person how to manage their taxes, like how to set up their business and like not get tripped up by the IRS. So that really was my vision. And it just was like, I want to be able to also, like, when you're marketing and doing the sales stuff, if like me, that's not your favorite part of the company you run.
Why ever not?
I feel like I do a much better job marketing something that I know is actually the best, right? Yeah. And so I just wanted to be able to feel that way about my book, which I'm happy to say that I do. But
that's
I don't
huge. You got to be in love with the work, or else you're not going to want to show up. And I think just to feel really proud of what you did is important, an important result of all of this. And your book, I mean, I know tax code changes, so there's probably going to be updates and iterations that you'll provide, probably also on your website, which is a great way to keep people engaged with your platform. But even books that have some aspect of them with a shelf life can serve you for so long. I just, my co-author, Ron Price, and I just won an award. I think it was either earlier this year or the end of last year for a book that we published in 2018. So, I mean, it gives you a sense of the longevity of well done work. If you really focus on the reader and creating something meaningful and impactful and excellent, like, it has longevity and shelf life and, continued work to do out in the world well beyond you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Also, congrats on your award. How exciting.
Thanks. It was so cool. I was like, wow, it was very unexpected.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did a lot of strategizing about how to write an evergreen tax guide. I knew I didn't want it to go out of date in a year.
Yeah,
and it
needs some shelf life.
Yeah, it needs shelf life. So I put QR codes to get the updated number on every single thing where I actually name a number. I give ballparks where it's not necessary to give an exact number. So it is evergreen.
It's wonderful. It's so smart. And it's especially in the financial space, that's very hard to do. But you approach that really thoughtfully. It also brings people into your ecosystem so you can serve them better through, a future book or future offerings or anything that comes up.
For sure. So tell me, I know you listened to my episode where I talked about how I broke down the author journey of publishing a book. And, of course, I'm an experience of one and you have so much more, exponentially more author journey experience. So I'm kind of curious, reflecting on my interpretation of that journey, what you would add to it.
I listened with great interest. I was very interested in hearing your experience and, insights from there. There is something to be said also about having been in this so long and having such a wide range of experience that I will never get to approach it for the first time again. Like, you get to have that experience. So I also get to learn from you in your journey and your experience. It helps me help other authors as well. So I got a lot out of it. I highly recommend everybody to go listen to that. I think that the layer that I would maybe add to your experience is that you took the traditional publishing route. And that is definitely not all that's available for authors to consider as their pathway to publishing. And I would particularly highlight underrepresented authors. We have a very white, not very diverse industry that gatekeeps books. And although there's been a lot of growth and change within publishing, it's still a very antiquated industry, like many are, and has a lot of room to grow. So, authors of color, queer, disabled authors, you're just going to have a harder time than like a white female or a white male who's out there trying to get picked for these opportunities. And so I think that it's really important for authors to know that the gates can be opened by you through different routes. And yet while we have more access through self-publishing and hybrid publishing, you as an author, especially if you're not working with a really reputable publishing partner like a hybrid publisher, you now need to take on many of the things that Hannah, that you talked about in your episode around your positioning, really understanding your reader, your market research, your planning. And where I see a lot of authors frankly quit or fail is that they don't do a lot of that early planning, outlining. And part of what a book proposal can be really useful for is that planning process. It's not always necessary to do that in the way that you did it, Hannah, if you're going the self and hybrid publishing route, but you do components of that to prepare yourself for the writing process. Right. So I think that that's just one layer I would add, is that there's other routes that you can take. It doesn't have to be the traditional route. Certainly there are pluses to that. There's also minuses to the traditional route. Pluses and minuses to self-publishing and hybrid publishing, which is, if that's a new term for people, that's like a kind of middle ground between traditional publishing and self-publishing, where you pay a partner publisher to produce your work. So they are really creating the product, often engaged in the marketing. So there's a lot of routes. And I think that might be something that's an interesting layer to dig into.
Yeah. That wasn't my experience, but a lot of people in the author's influence circle, which you run, are approaching it that way. And you have a lot to share on that. So I will, like, those of you listening who resonated with Stacy's message about, if you're in a historically marginalized group, or just maybe the economics or time of a book feels scary to you, I definitely recommend that you go look on Stacy's website and poke around at what she offers, because she's really good at this, laying out what the journey looks like for the different types, like hybrid and self-publishing, which are definitely viable options and becoming more viable. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, yeah. I recently did an interview on my podcast, which you've been on, Hannah, Beyond Better. And I interviewed Emma Lowe, who's the director of the London Book Fair, which is one of the largest industry conferences in the world. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about this fair that I attended back in March, and we talked about on the episode, is that they have this whole author education component of the London Book Fair. And as part of this kind of wider trade show that they do, they provide author education, and they had a lot of authors on stages. They had a lot of education around publishing. What I thought was really interesting is that they had many self-published authors on stage alongside traditionally published authors. Many of them had started traditional and went self-publishing, which I thought was very interesting.
That is.
And I really appreciated the way that they gave the space to a variety of publishing routes, because, especially with a trade show like that, it's a deal-making conference for traditional publishers. Like, that is the heart of it, especially for translation rights. So by all, accounts, they have every right to highlight and focus on traditional, but self-publishing, hybrid publishing had a big imprint there. Like, imprint, I guess, is a publishing term, but I mean, in a different way. They had a big footprint and were very visible. And in fact, Ally, which is an independent authors organization, ran the whole stage. So I think that it's growing, but it's also becoming a preferable route, actually, especially for genre writers, which Emma mentions in that podcast episode, but for nonfiction, definitely, because a lot of the authors I work with have an integration in their business. And there's a lot of things that you don't get to control in the traditional route, and the time to market is very, very long. So if you have some, business or brand or social impact growth goals, they might not want to wait 3 years to get the book out into market. They'd rather, take it into their own hands and work on more of like an 18-month timeline, let's say. So there's again, always pros and cons, and there's never one right route that I could say is like, this is the way I recommend for every single person. Budget comes into play, goals come into play. Do you have like the interest in exploring the traditional route? And like, is that exciting to you? And if it is, then and you want to go that route, that's wonderful. But I also recommend that people put parameters around that and have a mindset of, I'm going to do this no matter what. Like, I'm going to get this work out into the world no matter what. Because if we're always just waiting for somebody else to deem us worthy or to give us an opportunity, like, what? We have so much availability to us now to be able to create our own opportunity and to put our own work out into the world.
Yeah.
So I just like authors to know that there's a lot of routes and one is not better or more worthwhile than another, and that you can explore all the different ways to get a book out.
That's awesome. So to the person who's listening to this, who doesn't identify as a writer, but who's, a thought leader, somebody who's built some expertise in their business, presumably serving a population, kind of like me, right? I didn't identify as a writer, but I do a lot of writing and I do have a mission and a thing to teach. Like, I think there's a lot of people like that where they might play with the idea of a book, but they feel very uncertain, kind of, does this make any sense? Does it make any sense financially? Does it make any sense like audience-wise or business-wise? So one of the things I love about you, Stacy, is how you are able to kind of place that within the ecosystem of a business, of somebody who is kind of a leader in their field. Can you talk a little bit about like what kind of a role a book can play and ROI in terms of, yes, money, but audience or other benefits?
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm prepping for a presentation. I'm going to provide a speakers group tomorrow. And as part of that prep, I always like to see what data points I can bring in because that can be really useful. And I came across this report. The name of the company that did the analysis is escaping me, but I can send it to you later, Hannah. Maybe we can link to it if you want to.
Yeah,
but it's on visible experts. So the idea of a visible expert is it's somebody that is out there creating in a visible way. So they're becoming known in their space. You would be a visible expert, I think, from their definition. And they had these two charts. One chart is most popular marketing things that they do. So it's like this list of, social media, speaking, referrals, all of these things. And at the very bottom is writing a business book. Like that was writing a book on their topic or something like that. The bottom of popularity. But then they had a chart of most effective marketing strategies. Oh. And number 1 was speaking and number 2 was writing a book on your topic. And the referrals were 3, I think, in that list. And so while I think in the original list, it was like social media was pretty high up and these other things that are maybe a little easier, a little more accessible, they are not necessarily the most effective. When they surveyed this group, I think it was 250 visible experts. And I thought that was such a cool data point because it's like anything else. Often the thing that is the effort, it's the bigger thing that's the heavier lift. They're really unpopular. Not everybody wants to do it or will do it. Maybe they want to, but they won't follow through. We know that about 80% of people want to write a book, but less than 1% of people actually do. And so I think that, a book is such a completing and publishing a good book. I think that that's a really important note there. It has to be a good quality, well done book. Can be such a powerful differentiator for you as whatever you are, a coach, a consultant, a creator of some kind, a service provider, whatever you're out there doing in the world. So there's that one piece from just simply a marketing perspective. We know that it's effective and it's long-term effective. It has a much higher shelf life, as we talked about earlier, than a viral reel or even a really great workshop or talk. You have to keep delivering those over and over again as marketing strategies. But a book, of course, you have to market it. Of course, you have to do the work of getting visibility around it, but it's completed and it's out in the world. And so there's these pieces that we know a book can deliver. Status, I hate might be a strong word. I strongly dislike that this is part of our human experience, but it is. And we as humans take in signals about people to decide if we can trust them. And a really strong trust status symbol is an author because you've done that work. It is an access point to rooms and stages that would previously be hard to get into because you lack that status. It can be used as a marketing tool, a lead gen tool, podcast pitching tool. Like there's all these things that you can do to really leverage it. And we know all that stuff, but I think that the thing that gets talked about less or maybe is less well known is that the experience and journey of organizing your ideas, not just to organize your ideas, but then translate those in a way that other people can understand, remember, and use. That is a process that you grow in such a deep and profound way. And you arrive on the other side of this changed. You're clearer, you're more confident. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Hannah, if that was your experience with your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's the workout of your life. I mean, I kept thinking of it in terms like that. Like I do weight training. I've been
love that.
And it is that. It is like you can't do it all in one day. It is a way bigger project. Like you're kind of building your strength over daily writing or weekly, I mean, your pace is your pace. But it's strengthens what you are already expert in. It strengthens and clarifies. And I think I remember a business coach, somebody huge, like Alex Hormozy or something, was talking about like a little metric of like what you should do in your business. There's like high impact, easy to do, high impact, hard to do, low impact, easy to do, low impact, no impact. Doesn't do anything for you. So obviously we forget that quadrant altogether. And he's like, well, as a business owner, what's left for you? You've already done this stuff that's high impact and easy to do. The only thing left is either to go to things that won't move the needle or to start doing the hard stuff.
That's so good.
High impact, hard to do is something that separates you from the pack. I mean, it is easy to put up an Instagram reel, relatively speaking. And it is not easy to write a book. So of course it's a differentiator. Of course it tells people you're serious, you're committed, because you cannot write a book without that. Not to mention the book process itself makes you better at what you do. So
yeah, 100%, all of what you said. And I think that, because also it's a long journey of introspection. And particularly in this time that we're in globally with the, AI and all of that, I'm not going to take us down that rabbit hole, but, it is a trained intentionality. Like you have to really show up in deep thought and you have to sit with your thoughts and you have to work through those thoughts. And this is if you do it with integrity, if you go through this process with integrity, because we now have tools that can steal some of your integrity in your creative process. But if you go through this process with integrity and with a real quest of service and creating something lasting and meaningful and useful. And, Hannah, in your episode that you recorded, you talked about, not wanting it to be a big, long sales book that's like just sending people to all the things you sell, really making it an all contained, useful thing. Like that is hard work. That is not an easy thing to do. It requires so much thought. And so that process of thinking and organizing, I imagine that also impacted other things that you do in your business, talks that you're giving, interviews you're giving. Maybe, I don't know if you've grown any new products or any new like service items out of some of that thinking, or maybe you will.
Yeah, a little.
But it's a seed bed for growth, for other personal and business and brand growth.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely true. I think, you know what, like just to speak to this moment that we're in right now, one, I think we're in a trust recession. I didn't invent that term and I can't attribute it, but the internet says this.
Okay.
I think a book is a really nice antidote to the trust recession. Like it just takes so much commitment to write one and integrity. I mean, yes, if you do it the right way. That it is in part an antidote to that trust thing. Like you build a trust with someone as they read your book. And I also just want to say on a personal note, like as AI creates all this slop and shallow thinking, I think this is why I feel so attracted to authors and writers lately. I'm a mega reader. Anybody who follows my Substack knows that I like recommend a book every week. And you can tell I'm reading a book a week. But like, I'm so attracted to reading and to authors because it's a place for deep thought. It's a place for integrity. It's a place for like deep, deep human connection. And I don't know about you, but more than ever right now, the AI era is making me more into books because of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I've definitely, the last 6+ months, I've really moved away from a lot of, I mean, I'm still on all the platforms and doing all the things, but what was it? You said trust recession? Is that what
Trust
you said?
recession.
That's so good. Interestingly, I'm prepping for a conference later this year here in Portugal. It's called Book 2.0, and I'm moderating a panel. And I was just chatting with Matt he founded the London Writers Salon, and he brought up this term called creative health, which is not a term that I'm familiar with, but it's something that apparently a lot of people are curious about and studying and interested in. And I love that as a concept because I think as we, we think about all of these areas, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, creative health, it's a real thing. Having space in your day and your life for creative, thoughtful work, I think to your point now more than ever. And as we, it's also like, I think that some authors, future authors, aspiring authors are also in maybe a self-trust recession because they're outsourcing so much of their thinking and creative work that they don't trust themselves to create with their own brains anymore.
You're so right.
So this is something that I'm having calls with a lot of authors who are really nervous about the way that I work and my guidelines around AI. And I on pretty much every call, I'm like, listen, not every call, but a lot of them. Listen, you've been using your brain and only your brain for decades. We have been writing books and we've been telling stories for 30,000 years. And we are capable of creation. And in fact, your beautiful human brain is completely powered to do this all on its own. And I think that some of this process of writing a book or whatever it is, creating whatever it is in the world, we're rebuilding that self-trust, like that as just a foundation of self-belief. And it's important. It's important.
That's beautiful. I mean, again, strength training is my metaphor for everything in life, but would you go to the gym and put your weights on a forklift and have the forklift lift the weights for you? Like,
no,
you can recognize how that is not going to build muscle for you. The way to build the powers of your brain is to do the powerful work. And it's hard. That's the whole point. That's why not everybody does it.
And the people that do are the people that are going to outlast all of the kind of hardships that we are seeing in AI. I think the people that will stay the course and do the thinking, they're going to lead what will be, and I think already starting to be, a creative revolution. So I think that there's not just, the virtue of the work, but I think there's a real professional imperative, a societal imperative. This is all, it's important. And I think that a book is a very practical expression of that. It's a project that you can do that taps into all the things that we're talking about. And it also moves your business forward. It's kind of the perfect project in my view.
Oh my gosh, Stacy, creative revolution, the antidote to what ails society right now. Let's leave it there. We can't do better. Amen. I love it. I so agree with everything you said. I don't feel like I can do any better than you just did. So thank you. That was beautiful. And I agree. I'm on this team. Stacy, I want to point to the session that we did together and let people know that if you're interested in hearing Stacy's wisdom, getting down into the nitty-gritty numbers, into the self-publishing thing, to the actual writing journey, if you're starting to think, oh, maybe this is something I want to look at, they can get the recording of our session you just have to be a subscriber. You can just be a free subscriber or paid to my Substack, Taxes for Humans. Send an email to hello@sunlighttax.com and just say you want the recording, or send me a note on Substack. But with that said, knowing that people can get that, I also want people to just hop on your website, take a look at what you offer, because you're really brilliant in many areas. And I think you've definitely given people a taste of why maybe they might be interested in that. So Stacy, where can people find you?
Thank you, Hannah. You can find me at stacyennis.com. It's Stacy with no E. And if you go to stacyennis.com/10 things, that's the number 10, I have a free guide that you can download, fully created by me with no AI, that really will give you an overview of things that you need to know before writing your nonfiction book. And this is a guide that has helped so many authors. Even if you don't work with me, I would love for you to get this, because it's going to give you, a really solid foundation. It's like a quick and dirty download of 10 things that you should really know before you go into this journey. And I'm also on Instagrams at Stacy Ennis and on LinkedIn.
Lovely. And also your podcast is great, Beyond Better.
Yes. And I had a great episode with this amazing woman named Hannah Cole. So you can go listen to that one.
Lovely, lovely. It's a great place to explore topic by topic. Stacy, it's just, you're brilliant and wonderful. I love the work you're doing. And also, you're serving people who have a mission in this world, help them get their voice out there. That's what I think of myself as doing on the money side. And so I feel very aligned with you, and I love the work you're doing. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Hannah. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with your people through this podcast, and just through your partnership and collaboration and helping make the world a better place.
Yeah, let's help great people do great work. Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you again in your membership, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It really helps. I'm so grateful. My tax guide, Taxes for Humans, is available wherever you buy books and at sunlighttax.com/book. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.